The contents of this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered as medical advice. If you have a specific health concern or condition, please consult a qualified healthcare professional. For more details, check out herguru.uk/disclaimers. I'm just wondering, can you imagine what it would feel like to, transform your deepest pain into your greatest strength? And what if I told you that the journey to healing could lead you to discover resilience and empowerment that you never knew you had? Hello everyone, and it's Cheryl here, and welcome to ABGW. You guessed it, amazing, brilliant, gorgeous, wonderful. And today we're doing another rapid rocket exercise. That's right. The whole idea of these episodes is to kind of help you, navigate your journey to empowerment, navigating away from addiction. Now, I just want to remind you that these episodes are all about helping you take actionable steps towards your trauma recovery and building more resilience. So without any further ado, let's get down to the questions that we've had in. Like I said, they're usually questions either from Facebook or Instagram, some private messages, and I've actually had quite a few this week, so I'm really surprised. So keep them coming in, because like I said, I do read all the comments and messages that I have, and it's a great way for you guys to kind of help me in answering the questions that you have in a way that hopefully will be useful to anyone that's listening in today. So as I said, without any further ado, let's get to the questions. This episode of ABGW is brought to you by Her Guru Coaching and Hypnotherapy, exploring the potential within. Her Guru provides both physical and mental fitness coaching and hypnotherapy services. You can find out more details by visiting herguru.uk.
What is the first step in overcoming any addiction?
So imagine you're standing at the threshold of change, looking forward, towards the horizon filled with hope and potential. Now, this first step on your transformational journey, embracing faith, because to me, faith isn't just about believing in something beyond yourself. It's more about holding on to the belief that tomorrow can be better, and that your recovery is possible, and that, more importantly, that success is in reach for you. It's a beacon in the darkness. It's guiding you through the trials of any addiction that you may have. So you're standing at the crossroads. The weight of your struggles is pulling you down, yet amidst all that chaos, there's that glimmer of hope. And I invite you to remember these words. Believing is the power of faith. You decide to take a leap of faith, a leap of belief. You begin to envisage a life beyond your addiction, a future filled with possibilities, because your faith isn't just something greater. It's in you. It's within you. It's the belief that you can change your destiny. So I remember Martin Luther King Jr. saying, faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. So I invite you to do that. And one of the ways that you can start integrating that is thinking about doing a journal, especially a gratitude journal, to remind yourself daily of the positive changes that you're making. Joining a support group, whether it's something like AA or, a faith and recovery group where you're sharing inspiration, you're getting camaraderie on your journey. And you can even do what I did, which is create a visual board of your recovery, something that you can look at, multiple times a day that will keep you focused on where you're heading and where you want to go.
How can I develop a courageous attitude towards my addiction?
I mean, let's face it. Facing addiction requires courage, more latent courage that has, that's been lying dormant within you, waiting to be awakened. And yes, it's about confronting your fears, acknowledging strengths that you possess, and kind of daring yourself to challenge the addiction has over you. So the journey is far from easy. You know that you need to truly confront your addiction. You need to muster up every ounce of courage that you have that's been buried within you. But I think drawing inspiration from your childhood heroes, I mean, one of my childhood heroes was Gordon the Gopher. I know. How can you draw courage from a stuffed puppet? But the thing is, you realize that your own strength is no less formidable when you draw energy and inspiration from those things, because you face your addiction head on every day, and each moment in that battle is a choice to be brave. And your courage is your shield, my friend. Your courage is protecting you on your path to recovery. I remember Mark Twain had this quote: courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, but not the absence of fear. So do you remember in Rocky? I think it's in Rocky. There's Rocky trains relentlessly despite the odds against him. To me, illustrates just how much courage you can pull out from yourself, pull out in that fight that you're having, that inner fight with addiction, so that you have the courage that you need to confront it. So some of the things that you might want to do is what I've done: use the opportunity to reflect on the past and the past victories that you've had, no matter how small, to remind yourself of the strength that you have. I'm a great believer in practicing positive affirmations, because I really do believe they help reinforce the courage that you have and your resolve that you have to overcome any addiction you have. And then setting yourself, maybe daily or weekly challenges to help push you slightly out of your comfort zone, but in a way that you can then look back and celebrate the successes that you've had.
How can I draw on my inner strength to overcome addiction?
Dude, within you lies an untapped wellspring of power, ready to be harnessed in your battle against addiction. So you might want to start drawing on this this inner strength, because it's about recognizing your resilience and then using it to forge ahead, even when the path can sometimes seem insurmountable. I mean, there are days you feel utterly defeated, ready to give up. But you also know that in your darkest moments, you can discover an inner strength you never knew that you had. And knowing that revelation comes during things like going for a walk in the woods, where, your resilience in nature is mirrored within your own. You see the trees standing tall. You see that they're able to, stand against the storms in your own life, and kind of reminds you of your own ability to withstand those personal tempests. That inner strength, I think, becomes your beacon, guiding you through those most challenging of days. And from yourself that even people who you've seen maybe in the past, like someone like Mahatma Gandhi, they, even though they were a nobody, they became significant in the history of the world because they used that resilience as a almost like a predictor of success to overcome what was holding them back. And you can use things like that to overcome the addictive behavior and emphasize the role that you have in your own inner strength. So maybe you could be like Chris in The Pursuit of Happiness. You remember Chris, played by Will Smith, when he tells his son, don't ever let someone tell you you can't do something. Because to me, that scene sort of speaks volumes about recognizing the use of your inner strength against life adversities. So how can you manifest that in your daily life? Well, how about writing a letter to yourself? I know that sounds crazy, but writing a letter and using it to outline all the strengths that you have, and then using that as a way of helping you overcome your addictions, engaging in physical activity. To me, physical activity, and I know I appreciate not everybody's always able to do as much physical stuff as they would like. But when you do physical stuff, if you do, I know it makes you feel physically stronger and more empowered. And if you're into meditation and mindfulness, sitting there like my Buddhist friend Sue, and she meditates for hours, I think it's a beautiful way to connect with your inner self and discover your strength. Me personally, I cannot sit there for more than 2 minutes without my mind going all over the place and me feeling uncomfortable. But I invite you to find ways to practice mindfulness, whether it's like me taking a long walk on my own and just enjoying nature. Whatever floats your boat, dudes, do it so that you can practice mindfulness in a way that will allow you to support your resilience and develop that inner strength that you have, that unseen power, that unseen force.
What role does patience and perseverance play in overcoming addiction?
Come on now, dudes. You know your journey through recovery is a marathon and not a sprint. So patience, perseverance I believe, are your closest allies in teaching you to not only embrace the process, but also to, allow yourself to go at a rate that is right for you, that is slow, but is also challenging. And it's about understanding that recovery unfolds one day at a time. So, like people like Robbie Williams and other people, celebrities that have overcome. I'm thinking not only about Robbie Williams, but, Robert Downey Jr., who I have fancied for years. I'm sorry. When I found out he was playing Iron Man, I was like, this is going to be good. But, people like that who've overcome alcohol addiction, and some of them have overcome drug addiction as well, because to me, they had to show that patience and that perseverance, in such a way so that they were able to learn that recovery is not a race, that it's a journey, and that you have to traverse it one step at a time. I'm inspired by when I see my garden grow, when I plant out the seeds and, I'm there and I'm thinking, is this stuff going to grow? Especially things like my cucumbers. I remember last year I was so worried about whether I was going to have any cucumbers, because you have to allow things to grow at a steady rate, but in their own time. And that is hard, because if you're like me, patience is hard. But the thing is, I don't focus on patience. I know I need patience, but I don't focus on patience. I focus on taking one step at a time, and then I know that my plants will grow, they will bloom, and that once they get to a certain stage, as long as it starts, the sun is still shining and water is still falling from the sky, I don't need to do anything else. So as they grow, that each small thing will grow into something beautiful, and I can celebrate each small victory. I can look around me and I know that people are enjoying each day of sobriety with the same joy they can, as I witness those first sprouts in spring. So, patience and perseverance has a magical effect before which difficulties disappear and obstacles vanish. So said John Quincy Adams. So you don't even need to believe me. Look at a bamboo tree. It takes years to germinate. Have you ever seen bamboo grow? I mean, it's just so cool. It takes years to germinate, but once they do, they grow so rapidly. And the thing is, much like how bamboo's growth, your recovery journey is a testament to the power of patience and perseverance. And you thinking about bamboo, they even use it as scaffolding. That's how strong it is. And that's how strong your journey towards your recovery can be. So, small things that you might want to do. I always would suggest that you find a support network, whether that's, AA for alcoholism or other support groups like that. So, because that way you're surrounding yourself with people who have an affinity to what you're going through. But there are other ways that you can celebrate the successes that you've had, by engaging in activities like gardening, like problem solving, puzzle solving, like finding, ways that you can help other people, I think will help you acknowledge the progress that you're making and help keep your motivation levels high. So get going. Amazing, brilliant, gorgeous, wonderful. Helping women just like you who are unhappy, perhaps even with your supposedly quote unquote good life. This is a mum and daughter duo, not pulling any punches as we explore trauma recovery and ideas for building resilience. So you work smarter and definitely not harder to create a transformational life, a life you love more often than not.
How can I get help and support in overcoming my addiction?
Remember, dudes, you do not have to face this battle alone. Please, please, please start seeking help and support from those around you that can make a significant difference to your recovery journey. And whether that's friends, family, specialist support groups like AA, opening up about your struggles will not only allow you to access the wealth of knowledge and empathy and encouragement that others can bring you, it will also help you with the realization that you can't do this alone, which is pivotal for your recovery. I mean, when you reach out, at first it can be a bit it can be a bit, nervous. But then the more you do it, you'll start growing in confidence. You'll start sharing your stories. You'll find solace in the shared experiences and strength in the collective, encouragement that you receive in those environments. Once your greatest fear, this act of vulnerability, becomes your source of strength and support, transforming your journey and forging bonds that will sustain you through your recovery. And the cool thing is these people then become lifelong friends. That social support, I think, in any kind of addiction recovery is so, so crucial, because it's offering you emotional comfort, practical assistance, and that sense of belonging that we all love. So apart from joining a local or online support group like the AA, please reach out to a trusted friend or a family member when you're feeling overwhelmed, and consider practical help, such as people like myself, a hypnotherapist or a counselor, who can help, provide you with tailored support and strategies that will, not generic strategies, but strategies that will work for you.
Is accepting that I have an addiction important in the recovery process?
One of the hardest things, I think, in any kind of journey of recovery is acknowledging and accepting something. So acknowledging that you have an addiction, to me, is that pivotal moment in your recovery. It's the point where denial ends and your journey towards healing and empowerment begins. And one of the things I particularly love, and I learned through AA, and when I visited AA meetings, I haven't visited as someone recovering from alcohol, so I have to make that disclaimer. I have gone to observe. One of the things I've noticed is at each meeting, they say the serenity prayer. And one of the things that I particularly love about the serenity prayer is this concept of acceptance. Because I know in my life, that has been one of the biggest challenges for me, acceptance. Accepting that there's nothing that I can change about my childhood. So why am I even spending time back there feeling resentment about it? But the thing is, acceptance, I have found, allows you to look things straight in the eye, look squarely at those challenges and make a conscious decision, a real conscious decision to change. So accepting that you have an addiction is the first requisite, because it requires you to face your deepest fears and acknowledge your addiction openly. And I don't mean you have to necessarily share that with that acknowledgement with other people, but that moment of acceptance, it's almost like it comes during a quiet evening, maybe when you're writing in your journal. That act of putting your struggles into words is so cathartic, and I think it just marks the beginning of your true healing, because from that point on, you can see your journey not as a battle with addiction, but a path to rediscovering who you are without this need, this so-called balm to stop you socializing in a way that is useful to you and other people around you. And I remember the film Silver Lining Playbook, where it explores acceptance and recovery. And there's this kind of dynamic between two of the characters, Pat and Tiffany. And to me, it shows how accepting personal struggles can lead to not only a real connection, but unexpected growth. So ways that you might think about integrating some of these thoughts and ideas is to practice some self-compassion. I'm a great believer in self-compassion. By not only speaking to yourself kindly and understandingly, I think self-compassion also means about accepting that you're a human being and that you're not perfect. You're never going to be perfect. And that allows you to just look at things that have happened in your life and try and look at them as a resource to you. And I know you've gone through really painful things, and I'm not saying that you weren't right to feel pain in those situations, or anger or frustration. I'm just inviting you to say, come on, man. I did my best, the best way that I knew how in those situations. And I'm going to use those events, those experiences now as a way of propelling me forward in a more empowering way so that I can leave my addiction behind. So maybe that's writing to yourself and then in a way that it's almost like, what I was saying in the Serenity Prayer, just writing a letter of acceptance and then maybe using that letter as something that you refer to when you have moments when you're doubting yourself or about doubting your ability or your commitment to recovery. So apart from finding support groups, another way is sharing your story with others in a safe way. I think is can reinforce that acceptance that you have, because then you see other people who have had, dare I say, worse journeys than you have, and it just helps you put what you're experiencing in the proper perspective.
Is overcoming addiction a challenging task?
Of course, overcoming any kind of addiction is undeniably challenging, but I see it as a path for growth, discovery, resilience. It's one of the reasons why I enjoy being around people who've gone through that journey. Maybe, like I said, they've gone to AA for many years and they've been willing to be open and honest with the challenges that they've had with their addiction. And it's one of the reasons why I'm particularly interested in helping people who've gone through traumatic experiences, put them in the perspective that they deserve, which kind of means leave them in the past and allowing that person to live in the present and look forward to the future. So I appreciate that each challenge is fraught with obstacles. I get that. But I also know that each challenge is about overcoming, the difficulties that you have. And it's a true testament to your strength and determination. And I look at so many people now who have appreciated that addiction, and overcoming it is not smooth sailing by any means. And that each day brings new challenges, but also that each day also brings new opportunities for growth. And, it's almost like, I have friends that have climbed mountains. I mean, I have one particular friend who's climbed Everest. And I remember him saying that every step required a lot of effort, but that effort, helped him improve his resilience. And I remember him saying that the occasional glance back to see how far he'd come helped him see everything in the perspective that it deserved. And that, treating every setback that they had on the climb as part of the climb itself, rather than just an obstacle, to overcome. So what I would invite you to do is, if you can, have a journal or a diary that allows you to track your progress so that you can reflect on the obstacles that you've overcome. Get yourself in a support group so that you can share your experiences in a safe environment where other people are sharing those, and you get a real sense of camaraderie. But the one thing that I hope that you take away from this episode especially is that the power of developing a growth mindset and viewing challenges as opportunities to learn and to grow, rather than as things that are holding you back. Just wanted to take this opportunity to thank everybody that's listened to the podcast so far. I really appreciate all the feedback that I've had, and it's really encouraged me to continue on this journey of my own self-discovery. But I just really wanted to just shout out to all the people who've inspired these last 2 episodes about addiction. You know, those people that I talked about, you know, especially people like Andy, Moira and Oliver and Amy, who have touched my heart so deeply that when I think about them, you know, I just get emotional because I just think I've just been so inspired by these people and how they have, you know, how they've gone through so much. So, you know, when I look at my life and I think of all the issues that I've had, and then I compare, not that you should compare yourself to other people, but I think of the struggles that they've had and how I just want to use those tricks and strategies to help other people overcome the addictions that they have in their life, and get to a place where they feel more and more empowered. So I just wanted to just share that thought with you, and I hope that you have found these last 2 episodes on addiction helpful to you in some way. I'm going to revisit it because I'm no expert at this, but I just wanted to just share some of these inspirational stories as ways that will allow you to indulge in some self-care and self-compassion. So let's carry on the journey. So thank you for joining us here on ABGW. Amazing, brilliant, gorgeous, wonderful. We hope that you found these answers useful, and hopefully they've inspired you to take some action in your life, even if it's just a small thing. So remember, your presence and participation is honestly, it's so valued here. So tune in for more empowering content, and remember, your journey towards resilience and transformation is a masterpiece in the making. So embrace it with every step, with your open arms, and let your story shine through with every actionable step, no matter how small. So please leave a review for us, or even better, let me know what kind of content you'd like to come up in the podcast. Bye for now.